Hey, everybody, welcome back to another edition of the Transformation Leaders Podcast. I'm David Soden, joined today with my co-host, Sean Ennis. And here, both of us would like to wish you a happy Thanksgiving. This is the week of Thanksgiving, so actually just tomorrow. So if you didn't catch the show on the day that we released it, then I guess happy late Thanksgiving to you. But in any event, today we're going to be talking to you about, are we in an AI bubble? And there's all kinds of bubbles, financial bubbles and everything else going on. So why not an AI bubble? Just seems fitting in that stuff. But nonetheless, there is all kinds of room for conversation. And Sean is going to kick us off and lead us through a couple of different key points and scenarios and kind of walk us through where we're at currently at the end of 2025. Sean?
Thanks. So this is a common question, David, that I'm getting every time I talk to clients today. They're like, but, AI is a bubble. But AI is a bubble. Who knows what's going to happen when the bubble bursts? I've been hearing bubble now for the past month. So I really appreciate this opportunity to share with you, David, and our community about this because, when I start hearing one, that's not a big issue. But when I hear it every week, every other day, I really want to take the opportunity and kind of share what I tell people about what's going on right now, Q4 2025. And that you're absolutely right, David. There are many bubbles. I may age myself, but I've been through a couple of them. The original bubble I went through was telco and fiber. When all of a sudden you can go from digital to light. People invested a heavy amount of money to embrace fiber optics and multi-wave optical repeaters and those kind of things. And then we had the dot bomb bubble that I've been through. And, people were buying pets.com, right? And those kind of things.
25 years ago already.
I remember, and again, I may be aging myself again, but there was a bubble around cloud, right? Where, people say you need to shut down your closet full of servers and push it into public clouds.
2012.
And then there was the machine learning and data science bubble, right?
Yep.
So my favorite bubble to talk about is always the Web3 bubble.
Oh, that was
right. NFTs. Remember NFTs, David?
Yeah.
So it comes down to we and technologists in general, we thrive on bubbles. And I've been accused of being the guy that jumps from bubble to bubble, otherwise known as, I call it, a technologist. So I wanted to explain what this is. Is it time to jump from the bubble? I guess that would be the question that I hear. But I did a lot of research on this because we're talking about AI a lot. Are we missing the boat? Are we setting our clients up for failure? So want to be clear. The first thing is the people who are pumping money in, and it is an outrageous amount of money. You're talking about, a couple data centers a month. 10 different companies are building data centers, a couple a month. That's a lot. When NVIDIA comes out and says, yes, all of our current chipset model that goes into 2026 is all sold out. We're not going to make any more. You're not going to get any. We have completely sold out a whole business line 9 months into the future. There's a lot of money being put in. But to be clear, the majority of the money that's going in there is by people who have the money. So back in the day, when you had companies that were Web3 exchanges, you never heard of these companies and you heard that they're spending billions. Yes, you should be concerned. But the people spending billions right now are people that have them, like Microsoft. They are funding the AI boom through their cloud boom, the last bubble. So they're funding the current bubble with the last bubble, right? So the majority of the money that's being spent is actually from cash generation. So if you have an Office 365 account, you are funding the AI bubble, right? That's the difference. The second is that a lot of the money that people are worried about are these bonds. So AWS right now, which if you know Amazon and remember Amazon, they're the company that made it fashionable to lose money to gain revenue and drive stock price through revenue, not profit. They are doing that today. They are borrowing money to build data centers using bonds. And this is concerning a lot of people. How concerned, David, are you that Amazon is going away?
I have a more immediate concern. And one of the bubbles, I was wondering maybe if you would bring it up. And if not, this is kind of an outlier, but a lot of people don't think of things in this way. But do a little research. If you're watching this and you're not a leader and you're just a regular person, a regular Joe, and even if you're a leader, I mean, it's not that it's bad information, but all of us are funding this bubble from all these data centers, because what it drives a data center? Power. And where does that power come from? Power plants. And where are power plants usually located? Well, around your neighborhood, around your city. And guess who pays the wonderful monopolies the money that funds their expansion and their growth? The consumer. And who's the consumer? The masses. And that's you and me. So folks, everybody that uses electricity is funding this bubble for data centers, which funnels, is funding everything. So love it, like it, hate it, agree with it, disagree with it, doesn't matter. You're funding it. And so it's there. Now, going back to your question, how worried am I? It depends until I order something and I can't get it in 2 days. Then I'm going down to Walmart. Yeah. Otherwise, personally,
there's going to be riots in the streets. And let's just say my wife would be very unhappy if Amazon is not around anymore.
Like I said, if I can't find it, I can still go to Walmart and find most things. So I'm not too concerned about it. And I live in a very large metro area, Atlanta area. So usually I can find just about anything I need. But if I'm in a rural area, I'm thinking this is where people are going to be really upset. And it's compounded to the point where Amazon and the likes of Walmart have driven out these mom and pop businesses that have been around when my parents, grandparents were around. And so they're gone. They've all folded up. Most of them in these rural areas, they're gone. Your only option is Amazon, or you're going to order from Target or Walmart. So for those folks, I'm very concerned. For me personally, less so much.
Well, I mean, I don't think Amazon's going to go away anytime soon, just from their logistics side and the amount of revenue that they generate regularly. I think they're going to be okay. I would say Amazon is one of those companies that has the moniker of too big to fail. There's just too much infrastructure requiring it. And I can tell you from my previous experience, our government uses quite a bit of AWS to host the government. So Amazon is not somebody you should be worried about. So when it comes down to the capital side, the number 2 bullet you see on the screen, they talk about bonds. They're talking about Amazon borrowing an obscene amount of money to fund these data centers. And I'm sorry, I think Andy Jansen knows what he's doing, and he's not risking the future of the company. So this is completely different when Amazon and Microsoft do these things to companies you've never heard of. The third is that people say, but Sean, every other week there's a new company, there's a new model, there's a new use case. It is like every time I look one way, people are saying, well, this is going to change everything. This kind of volatility and rate of change and people winning and losing is going to cause massive issues. And I completely agree. You know, again, but again, you'll always have winners and losers. Um, I remember from an internet service provider example back in the day, there were thousands of internet service providers. And now, what are there? 12?
Yeah. Consolidation, M&A galore. One thing, too, just to circle back, we're in late 2025. I officially want to go on record digitally and say, disciplined capital. If you thought the bank bailouts were bad, wait till they start bailing out data centers, because everything is so dependent on AI that if these data centers and these models, and as this M&A and this consolidation and collapse happens, again, if you think the bailouts on the financial or even the automotive industry or the airline industry from COVID is bad, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait till these data centers start to fail and go under. This, I'm telling you, it's coming. I hope I'm wrong, but
I think it's going to be a real estate situation more than anything else, because there's always, like, again, my perfect example is back in the day, AT&T decided that you don't need copper to the home anymore. If you don't need copper to the home, you don't need all these COs. So you know what they turned those COs into? They turned them into data centers. Yep. Right? And they sold a whole bunch of new offerings at the edge.
ADSL on copper.
Remember when all the malls died 20 years ago? Remember that? You know what they turned those malls into? Data centers. Isn't that ironic? You know, so at the end of the day is I'm not too worried about the rate of change that we're seeing. In fact, I think everybody should applaud that winners and losers are happening because we're getting better stuff. I can tell you my personal experience is asking a question of ChatGPT today versus 3 years ago. The value of the data that I am getting, I can tell you from a Vibe programmer, just in the last year, the value has been increasing. So,
stay tuned for a future episode, by the way.
Exactly. There's a lot of sausage making happening right here at the technical level, but I can tell you my personal experience lately. I took a picture of me as I think I was 6 years old with my parents. It wasn't black and white, David. It was color. And I loaded it into Grok
yellow and brown.
And I turned that image into a GIF, a 3 or 4 second video of me and my family back when I was 6 years old. Now, I sent that to my parents, and they were absolutely amazed. So when it comes down to technology, technology is about creating new experiences, right? Or it is saving money. And AI is actually doing both. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is really what you jumped right into as far as data centers and energy. This is something you should be worried about because there are many communities that are being negatively affected by this. So a data center knocks into your neighborhood and they said, we want to build a center, and they're going to get tax benefits to put that in there. Maybe there's only going to be 20 employees, but what it's going to do is it's going to increase the rate of your power by 20%. Now, another podcast that I can heavily recommend, which is the All In podcast. They said that this is going to cause political problems next year.
Yep.
They said that what's going to happen is the AI providers are going to have to either pay a higher rate or, um, in the perfect point, is that AI will consume so much power in the future, they may as well just pay for everybody's power at that point.
Yeah. If you have a Meta data center coming into your area, be very concerned. Those
And
are the ones I've
something
heard.
will have to be done at some point. But you're hearing this is why nuclear energy has been coming up. Now, I'll be honest. One of the best ideas to solve this, surprisingly enough, is Elon Musk, who said, "Hey, I can deploy a solar panel, and I can deploy."
On the roof of the data center. He said.
Yeah, and I can have it completely off the grid. So, there are solutions to this in place, but this is going to be something that you're going to hear a lot of. Does that make sense, David?
So much sense. Yeah. It just brought back a bunch of emotions that I heard when a Meta Center was coming to my area and they were proposing it. And luckily, there was a decent enough city council in our area, and they listened to the community and they rejected it. Thank God. But that doesn't mean we've won the what is it, the battle. We might have won that one war, but trust me, they're not going to give up that easily. It's going to come. And Meta's not the only culprit, by the way. There's other ones, but those are the ones, the last two in the news cycle that I have seen and read about. And coincidentally, it just happened to be Meta data centers because they were trying to go into extremely rural areas and just turn them out and get the land for pennies on the dollar. And that's why they're doing it. But the problem with the rural areas, there's no power out there. There's no power to get there. So they tap into distributed small providers and through the areas. And in order for everybody to, I don't know how it works on kilowatts or that's not my area of expertise, but bottom line is siphoning a lot of power from each of them to make up the deficit that they're going to need as a whole to run this enchilada. And they could definitely use a power wall out there. That's for sure. So Elon Musk, if you're listening, call him quickly because there's a lot of money to be had there for sure.
Well, I can tell you that, there's a little show that I watch called Landman that says West Texas, which I live in North Texas. That's where all the energy comes from. In fact, they have so much excess gas, they just burn it off at the well. So we're just burning it.
Telling me. Oh, I'm sorry.
To make West Texas hotter, by the way. That's what they use it for, to make West Texas hotter. So there's all kinds of solutions out there to this problem. I know in Texas they talked about green lighting 6 new nuclear power plants in West Texas. But this is going to be this and chips are going to delimit how fast this goes. And to be quite honest, speaking as a technologist,
yep,
we need to put some kind of brakes on this AI because, frankly, the technology is moving faster than the politics and the culture can handle in many areas, in my opinion.
Yep.
So the fact that we can only build data centers so fast because we can build power sites only so fast, and that we can build chips only so fast. All of these things are good because we don't want things to change too fast, too often. So I'm still very much bullish when it comes to AI. But, what I want to make sure everyone gets from this is that what's happening is much more attuned to the cloud era, right? Now, with the cloud era, people didn't know how to build data centers. They didn't know how to automate data centers. They didn't know how to cool data centers. And all of that technology and know-how has already been figured out. So this is not a delimiter or breaks to a build out. So that's why you're seeing these things happening much faster, because this is something that's already existing. So they're building a new industrial layer to society called AI. And this was done just before with cloud and compute. So a lot of this stuff isn't too big of a deal. And then the other thing I want to make sure everyone realizes that the majority of the money that's being spent are called the Mag 7 companies. So the Magnificent Seven. This is, your your Amazon, your Microsoft, your Google. These people, these companies are the foundations of our S&P 500. They have been cash flow positive for decades. They have billions of cash flow positive offerings like Google search, and they are funneling all that in here to grow this capacity. Now, I kind of tell people, there could be two different types of bubbles. One, if you're a history buff, you've heard about tulips in Europe, right? And pineapples were in the United States, where something that is a very limited supply comes to the market that's a fad, and then it evaporates, right? And then everybody kind of gets held holding the bag. And tulips is an example of this. NFTs were an example of this, right? Just recently, where there are people who paid millions of dollars for a smoking monkey, and now they're not worth anything because they were really never worth anything to begin with. The other bubble is infrastructure. So this is the cloud computing, right? Which still is very valuable today. I remember all the cloud hosters that are available. Recently, I've had to find a hosting provider outside of the hyperscalers. There's maybe 5, right? So just like internet service providers, they consolidated. Just like hosting service providers, they consolidated. And then obviously for the history buffs, this is the railroads, right? And the railroads, they took a lot of investment from banks, but more investment actually from government to build out really quick. And then it created a whole bunch of mess. And then the country pretty much went bankrupt. If you look at it, JP Morgan Chase had to bail us out, the government, that is, because of railroads. So things can go wrong still, but I firmly believe that AI is the digital age version of railroads. 2 things can happen. One is that infrastructure is built out that will level up our society and our economy. Or number 2, the same thing on number 1 is going to happen, except it is a lot of wasteful spending, and that consolidation is going to cause a major economic shift. Now, my hope is the former, not the latter. But so this is what I'm telling clients today about being wary about the AI bubble. AI works. It provides value. This is something we all kind of agree on right now. The question is are there going to be bad investments? I think the answer is yes. Is there going to be too many of those for us to be prosperous in 2 or 3 years? And again, I think the jury's out on that one. David, I'll let you have the last one.
Yeah, so I think you said it all really, really well. The only thing I'll just say is a slight different perspective of things. Most bubbles pop because the veil of the bubble, the wall of the bubble itself is thin or it wears thin over time. And then it just kind of either explodes or implodes depending on what's going on, which kind of leads me to my next point. I think you're going to see, and if this bubble were to pop in any which way, so to speak, it's going to be the trifecta of things from ecological, economical, and sociological, meaning people losing their jobs, the economy going crazy, things about the finance that we were talking about, all of the pressures coming on, and then the ecological impact for all these data centers, all this power. And believe it or not, a lot of those data centers, all of those power centers are not being run by clean energy. They're still using that old school message of coal. So there's a lot of things happening in many, 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 many different areas. And it is the trifecta, unlike any other bubble, because it's hitting on, I would say, the third rail of society in every way imaginable possible. And the same problem is we also can't live without it now, because I can't imagine going back. I don't see it happening. So it is interesting. It is something to watch. And in order to watch that, keep an eye on our podcast, because each and every week we take a different angle, a different spin. You can see our website on the screen. There's a QR code there as well. So whichever way is the easiest way to get to our website, whether it's typing it in, that very long URL, unfortunately, or just scan the QR code. But we are here every Wednesday. And so that's it for this week. And the last bubble you need to be concerned about is the Thanksgiving bubble.
Yes.
The one that's going to
Happy holidays, everyone.
Implode and explode. So until next time, we'll see you here on the show. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye.